Hey everybody, guys are out of town this week, so we're doing a little different. We gathered together some of our favorite moments from all of our guests and compiled them in this episode. So we hope you enjoy and go build something.
So looking at your following, we're going to dive into some social media stuff.
Sure.
So looking at your following, it makes me jealous and a little irritated that they're so engaged. It's insane, dude. Like looking at where you're at and how many people interact with you is crazy. You got crazy
I just texted
numbers.
him this like a month ago.
Yeah.
You did?
Brandon
You texted.
I was like, how are you doing this evil magicianry?
I don't know.
So you don't know.
I don't.
You don't have a method. You don't.
I
have
know.
anything like that?
I figured it out.
What?
He lives on Instagram.
That's true. I spend a lot of time on Instagram.
Like how many hours a day?
I think he even told me that.
Yeah, because you can look it up, right?
Yeah, I think it's like six or 7 hours total.
That used to be
That's
us.
a
That's
lot.
strong work.
That's
Yeah,
a
I used
lot,
to be
dude.
there.
That's
I was
It's
there
a
one
lot.
time.
Yeah, we used to do that. Now I'm like, screw it.
Yeah.
Every
that's
time
the
I get
answer.
those notifications on my phone now, my screen time just keeps going down and down and down.
I turn that
Here,
off. It's annoying.
Do you have notifications? Do you have notifications, Mike? Though, like, do you?
No, I can't leave
okay.
those on. No,
I was gonna say.
no,
I was
it's
gonna say.
it's. I have to. I set myself. So it stopped working like in July for me, whatever reason, notifications, and I was spent about 30 minutes trying to figure out why it wasn't working, and then I was like, no, this is kind of nice. So I just left them off, and I haven't really gone back to try to fix them. I think there was an update with iOS or something like that, and messed things up,
Yep.
or Instagram.
Mine
And
have
I
never worked.
And I went back and I was like, no, you know what? This is a lot more enjoyable. So I jump in there every half hour, answer whatever I've got for DMs, get to respond to notifications, and then you have to set boundaries. Obviously, I'm on there a lot, so I have to have some boundaries. So I mean, obviously, I do a million stories, and I just really on DMs, I stay really open on DMs. So that's one thing, because when you start to get a engaged audience, you can lose it so fast, because really at the end of the day, they probably don't care that much about the person they're talking to. Like they care in that immediate and in the short term, I think. But if I were to die, and not to get morbid, but if I were to die, they would be bummed out for a little bit, but they'd very quickly be able to fill that hole in their life, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's probably not that important to their life. You know what I mean? And that's not like to be like ridiculous, but I mean, ultimately, I think if you don't keep up with it, it just goes away.
Yeah.
So that's one of those
and
things.
you
where
comment on everybody else's stuff a lot too.
I do. I engage out. I mean, my biggest theory especially with the smaller formats like Instagram and the TikTok, stuff like that. I don't really do it so much on TikTok just because I don't really spend much time on that platform. But when you have like the ADHD platforms like Instagram's becoming, where you like they're trying to speed up all the content as fast as they can, and they're trying to make it so it's ultra consumable. Nothing lasts very long. It's not like with YouTube. This is my opinion. With Instagram, I try to really give engagement out, because I think that really affects your engagement in. I think it's gonna, if people see that this person commented on my post or whatever it is, I made some sort of concerted effort to actually show that I do care about what they're doing, then it comes back at you. It's almost like a Hakuna Matata or whatever, I guess. But it works both ways. I think it's really important. I think that a lot of the time I spend now, it's getting harder for me to spend time commenting out, like to engage out. It's getting harder and harder for me to engage out. I was talking with someone yesterday or today about, I was talking about different content creators and makers in the community who I used to really closely follow, because I was really interested in what they were doing. But there's like only a handful of people I do that with now, and they're actually people I talk to now a lot, and I'm actually have a relationship with. It's really hard for me to be a content consumer anymore, because I don't really have the time. Now I'm not, I'm making content, but I think as my time has gone to creating content, the time is pulled away from consuming content, and I just don't really spend much time on there consuming it anymore. I don't even, I really like when I see buddies of mine throw up YouTube videos, I try to set aside time to watch their content and give them those view hours to help them out. but I don't really just passively watch YouTube because I just don't have time. I'm slammed all the time. I feel like I'm just really buried at all times. So it's like it gets harder and harder to enjoy content the more I get into making it. I don't know if that makes sense. So,
Wait till you do it for a few years.
Yeah. So
Yeah, how long
I
have
think
you been
that's
on
where
it?
we're all at.
yeah.
How long have
You've
you
only
been
been
on?
about a year, right?
Yeah, I started Instagram last like May,
Mm,
and
it's crazy.
I started YouTube in like March.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Did
like-
you have any background filming or anything like that before? Did you have
No.
experience at it?
No,
You did a
I
really
didn't.
good job at it, so.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't. I just really enjoy it though. Like, that's one thing. I think that if I didn't have the fun I get out of actually filming and making content, I would have never stuck with Instagram or any social media at all, because I actually really do enjoy the videography side of it. It's something I've never had any interest in. And social media is really something I've never had any interest in. You can look at my personal YouTube and my personal Instagram and my personal Facebook. They're like barren wastelands. I never put stuff over there. I just don't care. My wife's like, you should cover your woodworking on your own thing. And then it turned into this, and that's mostly because, well, obviously the engagement's really fun, but videography is something I really enjoy. And I found that early on that if your videos kind of stand out a little bit more than other people's, it's kind of with anything in content, right? If you stand out a little bit more than other people, you're probably going to do pretty good. You don't have to be like crazy good to stand out a lot. You can just be just better than a lot of the other people or some of the other people, and you're going to stand out. And as you get better and better, in theory, you should get better and better. You're going to keep standing out more. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't enjoy videography because I could stand out. I enjoyed videography because I actually really do like doing the video side of it. It's really fun. And then, I run into people like Nick Key, who's really helped me a lot. And he's just like a wealth of information. So he's someone who just really got me more and more into it, and he would make fun of me for filming on my phone, which, as a joke, because he does that too. I mean, sometimes it's just way faster just to film something on your phone, and it just makes sense for the content. But, he really pushed me to get a camera, which I'd never had a camera in my life until I bought one to record me cutting on my bandsaw. How stupid is that? So it's not something I've never owned, it's never been something I've been interested in. But now you see certain people out there who make content and you're like, God, that's really, really interesting what they caught of that moment.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, that is really, really cool. I want to be
Yeah, I
able to,
definitely find
emulate
myself
that.
watching YouTube videos and paying more attention to how they shot it and the shots they got and how they edited it rather than even the project they're doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a content creator's thing. You got people like Nick who you like watch him. You're like, man, he makes such great content.
Right.
Why isn't he doing better? It's like, well, because not a lot of people are content creators. Unfortunately, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Like for people who are content creators, like God, it's really good. Or there's other people. It's really, really great. I mean, Four Eyes. I mean, I can't not watch his videos because it's just all of it's good. It hits the content creator side and the woodworker side of me. Like hits me right in the spot. So, it's just really cool watching that stuff.
He's really personable too. So you
Yeah.
feel there's people that will just follow him. Like, I mean, I think all of us probably have followers that don't necessarily do woodworking all the time. They just like enjoy the projects and then they start to follow your stories and then they see who you are and they're like, oh, okay, I like this. It's funny because I know when I haven't sold my shirts really or pushed them very much in a while, but like a couple of years ago when I put out my Go Build Something shirts, I had 50 sales or pre-orders, which I thought was crazy at the time. And it's still pretty cool. But there was a good portion of them that were people that didn't woodwork at all.
Yeah.
And like they would tag me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you don't do any projects. They just liked there's my channel just for that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
That's
So
I would say the
engaged follower.
majority of the ones that bought my shirts and stuff don't even do woodworking. I mean, they do like a little bit here and there, but that's about it.
It feels really good when that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think so too.
It makes you feel like, oh this is relatable to everyone on a certain level. Because if they're not in it for just what you do, that means that you're putting it out in a way that people can consume. Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Anyway,
Going back to what you were talking about when it comes to being engaged like outwardly, right? Like going to people's posts and stuff. So I started doing that this last week, right at the beginning of the week, where I was like, all right, I'm going to go to like 35, whatever hashtag that I'm going to look up, and go to 30 different actual makers, not the spam account ones that you see everywhere nowadays.
Right.
But like, actual people comment, go, like, and do a couple on their posts and stuff like that. And I saw a huge uptick in comments on like the days I did that. And then Instagram decided, we're going to stop those searching hashtags because of the election for some stupid reason. And so then now it's like, oh, cool. So I can't do that anymore. So I'm just going to wait till like you can't even search anymore. It's like, well, this blows.
So are they people you already follow, or are they randoms
so
out of Explore? You're just pulling out of Explore. Yeah. Careful with that, because I've heard where people will go through and blast accounts they don't follow with likes and comments, and Instagram interprets them as a bot.
Oh, yeah. So no, that for me, I would take one specific post. Like I just go through
okay, I got you.
Hashtag MFP behind the scenes, right?
Okay.
Which is the made for profit one, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So those guys are really engaged. Plus they like the content creation side. So I like engaging with those people. But I take like the top 20 or most recent posts. I just click on it. I comment and like the post and then move on. But so it's not like I'm maybe if I do actually really like the content, I'll go and actually look and see what other content I like on theirs. Yeah. But just try to be engaged that way. And I was like, God, maybe I could spend 20 minutes a day, not even that, and just like try to do that and be more engaged.
But probably net a handful of follows too that way, or see some new people commenting on your posts.
I know, that's the point. For me, I just don't so as I exploded, I think us three have the opposite problem as you. Because we exploded super fast in followers, and as you saw, had a really engaged following, and it basically canceled each other out. What I mean? Like you saw the opposite effect. As I grew followers, my engagement started to plummet. And so it's like, well, and I'm doing better content than I did 3 years ago, by far. Right. But it's just so.
Yeah, I get it. That seems definitely. I've talked to Brandon about it a bunch, and then a couple other guys where. That I can 100% see why that huge skyrocket rise up front, and then you guys get to where you're at now, and it's just like, where's the comments? It doesn't even pencil out. Like you guys should have as many comments. It's the content's the similar or better than a lot of what's in the feed anyway. So what's the deal? It's got to be very frustrating.
I don't know if you guys experienced this too, but for me, I saw a big downgrade in engagement after I hit 100,000 followers. So I was climbing like crazy, and I was super engaged. Every IGTV thing I posted got like hundreds and thousands or a million views, and it just kept going and going. And then I hit 100,000, and it was like, and it just plateaued. And I was like, what the heck?
It's like people look at that number and they don't think that you're personable anymore. They don't think that you're somebody they can have a conversation with anymore. I saw the exact same thing. As soon as I hit 100K, Instagram it just went down.
Well, and I don't know if it's the people or Instagram's not sharing it as much. If there's something in the algorithm
could be
that says like, okay, at this point, we're not going to push you as much. So I don't know. Because then you look at certain people and they're like crazy off the charts and they're way past 100,000. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Who knows? But like Keith, when he was on last week, he said that I think he's at like 210 or something, but he's like the same thing as us, just plateaued and just sitting there. He's like, I haven't went up or down in months. And I'm like, I've been at 105 for probably the whole year, I think.
Well, that sucks for sure. Like there's no way to put that other than it sucks. Cause you guys were putting in a lot of time before, like you were saying, right? You guys were putting in a lot of hours, and then you see that plateau, but now I think I say it because I'm not experiencing it, but sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could justify pulling away from Instagram more and going towards YouTube a lot more. And I feel like that gives you guys that ability to do that. So I don't know if that's like a positive or a negative, but I feel like it would be a positive being able to focus more over there. If I felt like I was hitting a stagnant point, I would definitely not see 6 hours a day on IG.
Right. Well, what's weird is it's like it looks stagnant, but then if you look at the followers, I gain hundreds a day, but I also lose hundreds a day. So it almost equals out. Yeah, I'm like, weird. So there's no, I mean, I guess it's possible, but in my brain, I'm thinking there's no way 300 people every day are going to be like, I don't want to follow you anymore. Like, that doesn't seem logical.
I think I mean, this is my theory. I have nothing to back this up. I think that they go through, Instagram goes through periods
Deletes
of
bots
cleansing
and all
bots.
that.
Yeah, I think they're just cleansing bots. And I feel like they're going through one right now because I'm seeing unfollower amounts that I never see. I think as my account grows, that percentage kind of stays the same, where your follows, unfollows stays the same. So I'm seeing more unfollows than I typically do. And that's like 35 to 40 a day is a lot for me. And that's what I've been seeing for like 3-4 weeks. And here's the thing, that Tehran percentage, when you go to your cities, that went from 1.5 to 1.2 in the last week and a half for me. So I think they're dropping those out, and which that for me, that doesn't make me sad. That makes me, I'm glad those bots are gone. Right. But I feel like they go through every few months, and this happens to me every few months. It's this cyclical thing where they go through. They're like, okay, time to wipe out the accounts we know are bots. They do it, and then I feel like after we get past the election here, I think the second week in November, I think numbers are going to be up for everybody. That's just my theory.
Yeah.
So you do a ton of woodworking, and then also you are an excellent, I don't know what you call it, but you're just extremely knowledgeable in the audio video field as well. So that's what you do on your day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah, my full-time gig is a media producer for a mega church here in Central Kentucky. So 9 to 5, I'm audio video all day long.
Gotcha. So woodworking is kind of just a hobby on its own as well, right?
Yeah, straight up hobby.
Yeah,
just
I didn't know that about you. I thought when we first met that you were just really smart at audio and video, because your woodworking does not appear to be a hobby. I mean, you're damn good at woodworking.
Oh, I thought you were going to say my woodworking appears to be super amateur.
It's pretty obvious you're not a full-time woodworker, so.
Yeah. Of course black. He doesn't do woodworking full-time.
Puts ink on all their stuff. I don't know.
Everything's black. Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. But I was impressed by your knowledge on the audio video part of it, and then I realized later on that it's your full-time
There's
job
a reason.
and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do.
So I thoroughly enjoyed your last video that you put out. I guess you're kind of making that transition of being both a woodworking channel and doing some audio video kind of how-to stuff.
Yeah, I kind of going back to like even in February of this year back at Workbench Con, I wanted to make a shift with my channel and lean more into what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know if I got like gun shy and just kind of pulled back from that idea because I didn't think that it would go well, or I didn't have time, or whatever the case may be. I just didn't make any videos pertaining to what I did, on a day-to-day basis at work. But last month, someone was like, hey, I've got all these issues with Premiere. Can you just tell me, how do I get started? And I was like, I've had enough people ask me about this stuff. I just need to put a video so I don't have to explain this every time through DMs, because who wants to respond to a DM, on a daily basis with the exact same answer of, well, you need to do this, to do this, and do this, and do this. Right. When it's so much easier to just say, hey, I've got a YouTube video on this, and here's the link. Right. Go watch it and tell me if you got any questions about it. So that's what I ended up doing.
Typically at the end of the week, you're like, Jesse, I've explained this to you at least 4 times this week. Right. It's the same damn answer as it was the last time.
I just got off the phone with Brandon, and I'm tired of this crap.
You're like, how many times do I have to tell you? You right-click. You right-click it.
And buy a Mac, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Right.
I did do that. No, I've hounded you over, I'd say the last year or so on several questions, and you've been nothing but helpful, man, and I really appreciate it.
Same. It's my pleasure.
I get myself into some pickles on this one because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to the audio-visual part of this thing.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast, and just like woodworking, you can go as deep as you want to. Like if you want to do all hand tools, you can do all hand tools. If you want to be a hybrid worker, you can do that. And it's the same thing with audio video. If you want to go, puletely cinematic and be, all manual focus, pulling lights all the time, doing all that, or you just, set your camera up and put it on record and just go for it. I mean, it is what it is.
Or just use your phone like Keith.
Right. Or you just use an iPhone like Keith. Keith and Jason both just use their iPhones, and it just drives me freaking bonkers.
I can't believe it's still decent video. I'm surprised.
Oh, it's great. It's incredible. I mean, KJ has said multiple times that he has had issues in his shop where color shifts and stuff like that, where, from one side of the shop, something is more magenta than the other side, and he'll have to correct that in post. But Jason doesn't touch any of it at all. And he's like literally the 1% that is so lucky that his shop is so well lit and nothing is different, that he can shoot from any angle in his shop and it all looks great, and his phone does fine. It's infuriating.
Jason with Bourbon Moth, he shoots with just an iPhone? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jason
crazy.
Bourbon Moth, it's all iPhone.
I had no idea.
He edits everything on his iPad too. And it's just
with InShot.
It drives me insane.
That's amazing.
I do notice he uses the same song in every single video. He does it.
I mean, that's kind of like his
now it's
that's
like
his trademark.
No, but like the fact that he shoots on an iPhone, he uses the same song. The whole layout's so simple that he's just like, like editing's a piece of
Plug
cake.
it in and let it rip.
Yeah.
He's like he's InShot's biggest fanboy.
Right.
He loves InShot.
I know.
I've
every
put
time he
more
starts talking
into
about
the filming of this podcast that 23 people's going to see than he does in his videos for YouTube that get hundreds of thousands of views.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just turn the camera. Oh, 260,000 subs. I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
I'm over here playing Russian roulette in the corner because I'm sad and I got way less. Took me 2 years.
They got dark real fast, Brandon.
Just being realistic.
Oh,
Don't worry, I live in
that bad.
California. I can't have anything powerful enough to kill anybody anyway.
I say, I can't be that bad. Nick does all your work for you.
That's accurate.
That's right.
I'm telling you right
pretty
now,
bad.
if I had to edit all my
pretty
videos
bad.
still on my own, I would not be doing YouTube. No.
So when
Even
you
the last one, I was like, oh, I'll just do it myself. And I got like 3 minutes in. I'm like, nope, uploading this to Nick's folder.
So what's
Which one was that?
The patio cover.
Oh, the patio video. Yeah.
I'm really glad I did now because you made like 4,000 cuts in it. And I was like, I wouldn't ever have done that much work.
Pretty much 1 billion cuts.
It was cool though. It worked good.
So for someone that's just getting into, let's say they buy a DSLR and they want to set it up in their shop, what would you recommend is like the first step to improve just from being completely on like automatic and auto adjust, the iOS, everything's automatic? What would be something that you would tell that person to like increase the quality of the camera or the video right off the bat? Something, the first thing you would do.
The very first thing you want to do is turn it into shooting full manual mode, so where you have complete control over the settings. And the very first rule of videography you want to learn is the 180 degree rule. And that is comes back from the days of shooting film, is where your shutter was 180 degrees from your frame rate. And that is basically, in today's terms, 2 times your frame rate is what your shutter speed needs to be. So if you're shooting 24 frames per second, you want to shoot 1/48th of a second. DSLRs can't really do that, so 1/50th is close enough. So that's pretty much like rule number 1. That's what you want to do, and that's going to affect your motion blur. And motion blur, in simple terms, is how your eyes see movement. So if you were to shake your fingers in front of your face, you don't see your fingers sharp and crisp as they move in front of your eyes, and that's motion blur. And as you increase your shutter speed to be faster, you'll see more crisp fingers, and that decreases your motion blur, which makes it look artificial. So having more correct motion blur makes everything look more realistic, and your brain interprets it more, and it just ups your game with more of a realistic video. So if you're shooting automatic, what your camera's going to do is the first thing it will do is crank that shutter to get your exposure correct. So you don't really want to do that because of the motion blur. Is that making any sense? Yeah. So you're wanting to be in control of that, so that you make sure you look correct on screen first. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're going to look real like jittery.
When I first got like a LED or LCD TV, it was weird because everything looked like super.
Yeah, like, and they call that the smooth motion. Mm-hmm. And every time I've ever seen that on TVs, I turn it off immediately because it doesn't look realistic.
We took a TV back. I was like, it's stupid. It looks like you're in the room almost, like it's not cinematic whatsoever. It's like, what is this crap?
That True Motion, it came out, man, like in the early mid 2000s, and it was all the rage because it looks great with sports,
right?
Because sports is something that you want to see more motion as it happens because it's fast paced, but everyday life doesn't happen like that. So when you're watching somebody walk through a room, you want to see a little bit of blur because that's real life.
Yeah, and you can see like the camera shaking, and it was weird.
Yeah, True Motion. Turn it off if you got it.
Today's sponsor of the podcast is Carolina Boot Company. At Carolina, their only goal is to provide working people with footwear that is 100% effective. Carolina understands the differences in job requirements, so they design and build footwear to accommodate those differences. Carolina prides themselves on their reputation for unmatched comfort, flawless performance, and remarkable durability. I personally own the Calyons, and I absolutely love them. They're comfortable boots that look great and can withstand the abuse that I typically put my boots through while I'm in the shop or I'm working outside. For GBS subscribers, visit the link in the description and use GBS30 for 30% off select boots. That's GBS30 for 30% off select boots when you visit the link in the description of the podcast. Make sure you go follow Carolina Boot Company on social media and visit their website at www.carolinashoe.com.
I like how you did it. Well, I like to hear when people say that because I hate the thing when, and I think everyone goes like this when you first get on and you're starting to build stuff and you see people with dominoes and festivals and crap. But you get like, man, it'd be really nice. I could build a lot of stuff if I have those tools too. It's like, okay, all right, let's wait a minute. But like you bought everything used and you just kept upgrading as you were building and you learn as you go and you adapt to things. Like I don't have a domino. I wish I did. That'd be really cool. But I don't have $1,400, $1,500, whatever it is to spend right now. So it's like you adapt and there's other ways to do it. And it's just cool to see the way that you did it as you just kept upgrading slowly and buying used stuff.
You learn how to finesse with tools. And so it's like, I mean, still, like I just had a guy come in the shop this past week who was having some trouble joining wood. So he came over and he was in the shop for 2 hours. And I helped him plane and join. And he's like, okay, do I need to use like biscuits or dominoes? I was like, no, this is perfectly milled wood. Like whenever you put that together, like it's glue and clamps and you don't over clamp and you're good to go. He was like, wait, serious? I'm like, yeah, you don't need all this extra stuff. You know, it's like we've overcomplicated building. Yes. And I really did learn the old fashioned way. I wish I was in the shop because I have this awesome book. It's called the History of Cabinet Making or something like that. It's a thick book. It's from the 70s and it's like my Bible in the workshop. And it has how cabinets were made way back in the day before when people didn't use screws. Like they literally used dado joints, rabbets, you know, all different types of actually joining. And that's how I build all my built-ins. So like no one sees all, you know, it's like they just see my trim, but if you take all my trim off, you actually see how I'm building, which is just, I don't know of a lot of people that actually build that way. Cause some people that do built-ins, I watch them. I'm like, oh, you're using screws for that? Oh, okay. I hope no one stands on that shelf. Cause that's that.
Not that you're judging.
No judgment.
So what got you into built-ins? Just the demand for them, or that's because you started with furniture, right?
Yeah. So I did a lot of furniture.
DIY stuff.
That's where the money is.
Especially when you're starting out, it's perfect. That's how I think.
No, I'm saying built-ins is where the money is.
Oh yeah, built-ins are where the money's at.
Yeah. So when you started, so is that why you got some people like, hey,
no,
this or?
Well, yeah, my very first set of built-ins, I was in Home Depot, picking up a new drill, and I just was like, I was walking through the plywood section to get to like the pro desk, and there was this guy, and he was looking everywhere, and you could tell he looked so lost. And I was like, hey, do you need help? Are you trying to figure stuff out? And he looked at me and he was like, well, yeah, I want to build some cabinets. And I was like, well, have you ever built cabinets before? And he goes, no, I haven't. And I had like built boxes, like, but I hadn't done built-in. So I've built like some boxes and some drawers, but I hadn't done like actual like built-ins. And I was like, well, I would probably get this plywood if you're going to use it, and so I just was talking to him, and I had Built by Stevie Built by Stevie like my black vest, it just says like Built by Stevie on it. He goes, well, what's Built by Stevie? I was like, oh, I like design and build custom furniture. And he goes, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, that's what I do. I've got a shop. And I had a shop. No, I was in my garage. This is just before I went to my shop. And he was like, well, do you have a business card? And I had learned early on to always carry business cards. And so I like pulled out, business card, handed it to him. And he was like, well, can I email you some stuff? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he emailed me that night, like he and his wife, like tag team emailed me on what they liked, what their dimensions were of their house, and what he was thinking about, what he was going to think about building. And I like quoted him as by far the cheapest built-in ever. But quoted him just on I used to do the price of like cost of material times 3 plus like 10%. That's how I used to roll. And so I did that, and I built used the cabinet book to actually figure out like exactly how I wanted to do stuff. I'd never made doors, like really doors before. I'd always done pocket, like I'd always just use like Craig screws, like pocket holes for joining doors and stuff. And I hadn't ever actually used, like done rails, like actual rails and stiles on the router. So I like learned through that whole process how to do it. And then, I mean, the great thing about social media is you put one thing up as a seller, like you put one thing up on Facebook and Instagram, and then people are like, oh, you can do that. So it's just like, I look at my Instagram and my like Facebook, it's my portfolio. Like I don't need to do content because it's literally at the end of the day, like it's just my portfolio. It's what my clients want. It's what my potential clients want to see. Yeah. I mean, they want to see me too, but they really want to see what I've done. Cause at the end of the day, that's what they're hiring me to do, is to build something awesome. So
yeah, it's really cool talking to you because you're in a completely different space, I feel like, than us three. Well, I get Brandon kind of does what I mean.
Yeah, Brandon's trying to do more.
Yeah, and that's his day job, but like his content is different, right? Us three,
but we mostly just do like tables.
Yeah,
we don't do like I told Aaron when I came on, I was like, okay, I'll come work for you, but I'm not building cabinets. Like 1,000. He's like, no, we're not doing cabinets. We're not installing anything. And I was like, perfect, let's go.
Yeah. But I like your points of view and like how you deal with your Instagram, which is awesome. And like is different than ours. And it's cool seeing because you say like you just want to get your finished products out there as much as you can. And so the next person that sees it wants to contact you and buy the next thing. And that's how you're doing it. And it's really cool to see because I feel like not most people, that's not true, but a lot of people that I talk to are doing just more the content side when like this side that you're doing is probably a lot more lucrative, especially starting out, like not starting out, but like once you get into it, you can make a lot of money, which is really cool.
Yeah. It'd be hard to like just be like, I'm gonna make content now and like try to make money right away.
I mean, there would have to be at this point, like it'd have to be it'd have a YouTube show or something like that. That's just something. And honestly, like I've had this conversation with my staff a bunch, just because of some other stuff that I'm working on that's not in the shop right now. And I love clients. At the end of the day, my high is clients. And so I love the relationship that you build with people. I'm friends with I'm actually like friends with a lot of my clients now, which is really cool. So I think I will always do client work. Now I might not do, 4 projects a month anymore. Like I will probably have to get down to just like maybe 2 projects a month in the next year. just with things that are happening. But I think that I will always do client work. And me, even as like Built by Stevie, always the head person, I want to be at least 50% in the shop. And so 50% of my time, like I just enjoy it. Like I really enjoy the client work, or at least like maybe I screwed in, like I built one piece of something of each project, but then I get to like be at the installs. Cause I love seeing clients like walk in cause they've been gone all day, or like a lot of time. And I tell clients to like leave. Like I don't let clients hang out near us cause it's such a distraction for us and for them. Cause like, I mean, we're just not going to work fast whenever you're like beady eye watching us the whole time. Yeah. So I literally will kick them out of the room, or just say, hey, like go run errands, go do what you need to do. And then they come back in and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's like their eyes get bright and the light bulb goes off for them. And I'm like, I did exactly what I was supposed to do. So.
Yeah, that part's definitely awesome about working with clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got lost for a second because I was trying to figure out how people do the backgrounds on Zoom where you can't see behind people.
Wow.
Because I didn't want Stevie to see the built-ins that I built behind me.
Oh, I can see them. They look
good. I was like, where do I find the space or something that I can put back there?
Just don't move the
I was
camera
actually
any closer.
admiring your drawers. They look great.
Those are the first ones I ever did. They're not that great, but they work.
Hey, you know what? We're our harshest critic. I mean, right now I have built-ins that I built for my new house. They don't have doors. They don't have trim. And in April, I will have been in my house for one whole year. And my parents were here at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And my mom asked, oh, you still don't have door fronts on there? No, mom. I've just had a lot of clients and
yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'm not busy at all. Well, what have you been doing anything in the shop, or are you just going to school?
I have. So that's the other thing is I have several projects kind of in progress where I'm doing a built-in closet for my nephew in a very small closet. So I'm having to kind of build it in pieces and bring it over and put it in when I can. And I also started on these little patio side tables, one of white oak and one of sapele. I started back in March. Like the bases are built. I just have to glue them together. But I'm pouring white concrete tops for them, round concrete tops, like 1.5 inches thick. And I got all the concrete. Z Counterform is helping me out with that. But I just haven't had time, and I've never really poured anything like this before. I mean, I've poured a pad for a stairway, but never, something a little more kind of on the line here.
Yeah.
Because of, this, I don't know. So I keep procrastinating because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to mess it up.
Sounds like everything I do in the shop.
Yeah, it gets a little like, dude, just friggin' put your big boy pants on and do it. Or what's the worst that could happen? Mm-hmm. Your form breaks and you get concrete all over your nice shop floor.
That's all.
And then the other thing, what is the other thing I got going? Well, we're still finalizing kind of the design on this all white oak floating media console that the customer wants the doors to flip up and slide in, kind of like a hidden door, like an entertainment center. They would open to the side and slide backwards so you can view your TV.
80s.
Yeah, it's very. I'm like, this is so silly because they're gonna store like toys and stuff in there, and I don't know. It's frustrating because there's not that much hardware. There is flipper door hardware out there, but none of it's really robust, or who knows how long it's gonna. And they're gonna be opening this thing all the time, and these white oak doors are gonna weigh like 30 pounds. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Not to mention if they warp just a little bit, it's probably not gonna
don't
work
jinx
just
me,
right.
bro. Yeah, I know. That's all I need is a callback on this one. Because then I would. By the way, those doors
not really working.
Well, that's the other thing is I started thinking, I'm like, white oak is pretty heavy, and this thing is 6 feet long and like 16 inches high, 8 or 16 inches deep too. Like it's gonna weigh like 200 pounds. I feel like, a French cleat maybe isn't going to be enough. I'm gonna have to put some countertop brackets or something underneath to really support this thing. And that's just, all this research and time is, it's money. And that's what customers don't realize. When they say, "Hey, can you build this? See this at Room and Board. Can you build this for the price?"
Restoration Hardware has it for $500.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I can." But then you realize I'm 10 emails back and forth, and the research involved, and asking people if they ever used this hardware before, and looking for recommendations, and already you're at 10 hours of time, and
haven't even touched anything.
Nothing. Haven't milled a board yet.
I was going to ask how you were going to attach it to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it literally is from Room and Board. They sent me the picture. I wasn't kidding. That's literally what they sent me. And when you buy it, that it is a French cleat system. So I will do that, but I think that, like, if you guys ever use those counter brackets it's basically just an L, but they use them for overhangs on granite countertops that overhang. So it's just a little added insurance that, I mean, who knows in time whether this thing's just going to start to sag a little, like start to pull the dry. I don't know. It's all kind of, you don't know.
No, they make like hangers for that, but you have to actually cut the drywall out and attach it to the stud. And like I did a floating console like last year, a walnut one. And it was all out of plywood, but that thing ended up being pretty heavy. I ended up doing like 3 separate pieces, so like kind of like cabinetry, and then I just like screwed them together, but you couldn't see it. And my plan was to do a French cleat, which I did, but once I put it on the wall, the top actually was like hanging out a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. And then the lady was like, well, can't you just screw it to the wall? And I was like, I guess, it could just be like a nailer with extra French cleat insurance. Sure. So that's what I ended up doing. I just drove some screws through into the studs, and it's still good as far as I know. Yeah.
Well, then you got to worry about the wall being plumb too. And of course, there's no way it's leaning back. It's always leaning forward.
Right. Or it's bowed.
Yeah. Oh, that too. That's, I mean, a 6-foot French cleat. I mean, there's going to be some, and I don't want to describe this damn thing.
10 feet, 9 or 10 feet long.
Holy hell.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Luckily, it was like a super weird house, actually. The guy that lived there before made it like a, what the hell they call those, like indoor like grow houses where you grow like trees, like an atrium. Is that what it's called?
Or a greenhouse? Yeah, atrium, that works.
It was kind of like a greenhouse, but it was just like a barn type house, but it had tons of skylights, and it had literally trees. Like I think it has like 30-foot ceilings, something insane. And so they turned it into a house and sheetrocked everything. So luckily it was pretty good because they had like a high-end contractor come in and do everything. So I got lucky there, but they were like, we're not exactly sure where the studs are, because it was like cinder block walls, I guess, and then they just did like. Luckily, they used 2x4s for furring strips, so I had plenty of wood, so it was like a normal studded wall. But yeah, it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, it sucks not knowing what's behind the wall.
Exactly.
I did those built-ins that, if you're watching on YouTube, they're behind me. Excuse me.
Oh yeah.
But I did these built-ins, and talking about walls being bowed
before you owned the house.
Square. Yeah, before I even owned this house, I did them for the previous owner.
No kidding.
Yeah, and these walls were so bad that I almost, on at least 2 different occasions, just packed up my tools, took a drive down the road to the builder's place, and beat the hell out of them in the parking lot. It was awful. Like, I was like, how do you leave work like that?
And they're newer houses, right? Not like
within
houses.
5-6 years old. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, but they throw these things up in 2 weeks, basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we purchased this townhouse new, and it's atrocious. Like the trim carpenters that come through here and put up the moldings and everything, the gaps everywhere, and the they do incremental walkthroughs after you buy a new place, because it's in there's an HOA and everything. So, after the first one, I'm like, you missed this, you missed that, and I'm like, I just pointed out one, like an outside miter was, you could drive a truck through it, and I was like, that needs to be fixed. And I was like, wait a second, you're not just gonna put caulk in there, right? He's like, yeah, that's what we normally do. I'm like, forget it. Don't even bother. Like, caulk is not for, it's for two surfaces meeting each other. It's not for the corner joints on molding or
adhesive.
Woodwork. Yeah,
basically.
it's like you can't. So it's.
Did you just strum a guitar? By the way, did that?
I did
I
not.
heard something. I don't know what that was.
My cat's in here. I don't know who. I don't know.
I thought he like kicked a trash can or something.
I couldn't hear it because I have my headphones on. But yeah, who knows what he did?
Yeah. So it sounded like somebody strummed a guitar. I was like, I thought somebody had picked up the guitar.
By the way, to people listening, Mullen is not here. I don't know if you noticed, but he's not feeling well today.
Nobody
He
noticed
could not
me
join
being
us.
You know what? It's funny because I was thinking, or not thinking, I thought of him today because I was driving, and let me see if I can find this picture. I'll show your listeners. I think what is possibly his theme song came on the radio. I don't know if can you guys. The phone's gonna throw
Your
it
background.
off. The background. Anyway, it was Taylor Swift "Cardigan." Was the name of the
amazing.
song?
Yes.
I was like, Jesse, that's you.
Hey,
That's
it was
hilarious.
straight up a cardigan. I don't care what he says. He's not on here to defend himself, so I'm calling it a cardigan.
It was not a sweater.
It
It had like 1.5 buttons on it.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know if it did.
Now, do you mind talking about for a minute your previous employment or what you used to do?
No, not at all.
How many years in law enforcement did you spend?
I had 17 and a half full time.
Gotcha. And you retired as a sergeant, right?
Yes.
Nice. Well, we appreciate your service, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Now, how many of those years did you handle a K9?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5.
Were those pretty challenging years with handling a dog, not only to worry about your duties, but also dealing with the dog as well?
It was physically demanding, just because, your canine, everybody likes SWAT, right? Like SWAT's so cool. But I think canine is always in the muck, right? Like you're always the first one in, you're always leading the charge. It was the funnest time I ever had. And it was just, it's definitely physically demanding and taxing and tiring.
Yeah.
So
did your dog retire with you?
Yeah, I retired him in October 2013, and then he passed away April 13th of 2018.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Oh, dude, I
felt so bad. I was like, oh man.
I was like, I'm like the big tough guy exterior, right? Like, yeah, like I'll be like, I used to joke like, oh no, he'll be, I'll just put him down and we'll get another dog. For like 2.5 days, dude, I cried like a baby. Yeah. Like I remember being in the vet's office because it got so, he got so bad that I remember I had to, he was outside and he was going to the bathroom and his like back legs gave out and he couldn't get up and he was like sitting in his feces. And like 12:30 in the morning, I looked at my wife and I'm like, it's time. So we called and I was like, I don't want him to go through this anymore. Like, let's do the humane thing. And the next day we go to the vet and I remember being on the floor with him and just bawling my eyes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
like it was the toughest. It was horrible.
I think it's awesome they let you guys take the dogs home with you and be yours afterwards because, I mean, you're literally with that dog every single day, like at home, at work, everywhere else. So I'm sure there's a very strong bond that you get there. So I really like the fact that they let y'all take your dogs, with you once they retire and stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and then I think too, your bond, right? Like my dog died, I think 2018 as well. No, I don't know. Like it was in the last couple years, and I remember doing the same thing, crying my eyes out and all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But you have this other, with a canine, you have this other bond too because he was your partner through. Oh yeah. What did you say? 7 years. Something like that.
We 5.5.
5.5 years.
5.5.
It's a long time. That's a long time to like have that partnership, and then I don't know. That's rough, man. But I always wanted to be a canine officer, even when I was in. And then they told me like, yeah, if you did, you'd have to be on the interdiction team, which means you're either down south by like I-70 or I-80 or we had one in the other valley, but I'd have to move. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'll pass.
Yeah.
I like where I live too much. It's a bummer, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a canine.
It was, and you'll hear every canine officer say it who's ever worked a dog, they will be the best partners that you ever have.
Yeah.
Like no gripes to the guys that I worked with, but that dog literally would have died for me, hands down.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah. You kind of, in 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you kind of went through a lot. So it was, I'm sure, at retirement, that was a tough decision to make, and going into, your own business, another realm of tough decision as well. It wasn't like you just quit and then went to work for somebody else,
No.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of taxing moments there. I'm sure in a long time. So I'm sure the last couple of weeks have been very freeing in some ways, but also I'm sure extremely stressful too.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, I had no idea what to expect when, like, I literally made the decision. I had told my chief, hey, this is, I'm 95% sure I'm going to do this. I got a meeting with the accountant to kind of run the numbers and make the final decision. And then when I made the final decision and I told everybody there, and I gave basically the department 30 days because I wanted them to do the sergeant's test and have everything in place. I just want to leave them kind of in limbo. And there was 2 weeks where it was just freeing. I felt really good. And to be honest with you, then there was nights where I couldn't sleep. There was nightmares. There was, doubt. There was just all these things. And I just was like, no, because I thought about it. I was like, man, maybe I'm making the wrong decision. How am I gonna pay for the house? How am I gonna put food on the table? How am I gonna do all these things that I've been doing? And I was just like, nope, I made the decision. I'm gonna stick to it, and I'm gonna make it work no matter what. Right? Like, I literally told myself, if all I can do is keep the house, like, I don't care if I drive a truck that's 30 years old. I don't care if I have cable. I don't care if I have this. I don't care if I have that. I'm gonna do it. And once I hit that point, it was just like full speed ahead.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you make the decision to go full time and leave your other career? Did you feel like that the woodworking part, that business aspect, that's just your passion? Or did you feel like, because there's a lot of stuff going on with law enforcement, so there could be a lot of, that's what I'm asking is like, was there other stuff with just the state of this country and law enforcement in the state of California that just drive you away? Or is it kind of like, it's time because I feel like my passion is somewhere else besides this job?
I think it was both.
Yeah.
Like, I still have, I wouldn't trade the last, even with all the stuff I saw and all the stuff I went through, and I worked for a small town, right? Like, there was 10,000 people in the town. I don't work in like Los Angeles or San Francisco. I got a buddy in Stockton right now that got into a horrific fight and got injured like last week. I even Stockton, if you guys know, well, you guys don't, but Brandon might. Stockton is a turd, right? Yeah. Like, it's just a horrible place.
It's a garbage hole.
Yeah.
It's a garbage hole.
Yeah. It's just a horrible community. I didn't go through a lot of that, but there were things over 17 years that, I don't wish my son to ever see that I saw in law enforcement. Yeah. And I think with everything that was going on politically and just in the state, that drove me to woodworking. That kind of drove me to, hey, I really enjoy this. So let's really see what I can do with it. So it was a little bit of both, to be honest with you. That it just, I was like, okay, it's time.
Has it become like this is a job now, and you don't enjoy it as much as you did? Or
hopefully
no.
Not in 2 weeks.
No,
if you already hit that point, it's only 2 weeks.
No, but he's been doing it for years.
Yeah. It hasn't yet. What has been hard is, for me, the last 2 weeks is to remember that this is now how I get paid.
Right.
Like, there's been days where I'm like, oh, man, I really don't feel like going to the shop. And I'm kind of like, I kind of lollygag in the morning. And then I'm like, oh, dude, you got bills due.
Yeah.
You got to get to the shop and turn out customer product. I mean, I worked Saturday and today, so it's been hard because I'm like, oh, before it was like, this is, it was side money, right? And I was building it to get to where I am now. But it was always like all the bills would get paid because I had the PD, money coming in. Now it's like there ain't no check coming. Mm-hmm. So it's time to let's get going.
Yeah.
So that's been the hard part.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've been kicked in another gear like the last 2 weeks? Like once it hit, you were like, oh, I'm being this, like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've kind of had what I didn't expect was how tired I actually was from the years where I was, because like my typical schedule before, like on my 4 days on patrol was I'd work 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'd get off. I'd fall asleep usually around 2 a.m. and I'd be back up at 6 and I'd be in the shop from like 7 to 12 or 12:30. I'd go home, I'd eat lunch, and I'd go to work. Well, like I was burning the candle at both ends. And the last 2 weeks, I've literally like my body's like, dude, you need some rest. Like, so it's how tired I was. I did not think that it was going to be this hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a very weird shop to where when I watch your Instagram posts and stuff and your YouTube videos that it looks huge and tiny all at the same time.
It's tiny.
It's got dual shops.
I learned a lot on Tender. It's a really small shop. It's
all about the angles.
Yeah, it's all about the glass, dude. You gotta get the good lens. No,
it's hilarious.
No, it's it's like 770 square feet. So I have a 2-car side-by-side garage and a 2-car tandem garage that are connected to each other.
I feel like that should be more than that.
20 by 20 is the one side by side. That's 400 square feet, and then the other one's a little smaller than that. So it's the other one's really tight tandem. So it's like 12 feet wide at one spot, and then it comes down and then it gets really wide to almost 25 feet wide. So it comes out to about 780 or 760, somewhere around there. So it is pretty small, but it's laid out really well. I spend a lot of time optimizing. I've changed my shop a lot in the last year and a half. Like it's grown a lot of tools in there, a lot of things have cycled through, and now it's in a spot where I don't see any change happening anytime soon. Like I basically have my dream shop right now. I just don't have enough space is the kind of the thing. So I have my dream tools in a shop that's smaller than I would like it to be, but it's working.
Because you've got a lot of big tools in there. It's not like you're using small stuff. You've got a lot of really good size. That Laguna bandsaw you just got. I got the same one. Those footprints aren't that small. So
it took a lot of planning. I built everything in Fusion originally when I was doing this most recent remodel. When I took over the other garage, Originally, I was in the tandem garage when I first started woodworking, and that was like literally just a miter station with like a rigid miter saw and a Ryobi table saw. And then as I expanded that, it got to be where it was basically a long rectangle, right? And the flow is really hard when you're moving back and forth in the shop in there. Well, I saw my other garage and I was like, you know what? A big square sounds really nice. I could put my table saw in the middle because everything works around the table saw, for me at least. And so I took over that side of the garage. And then when the opportunity to get the CNC came, I was like, my wife was, first of all, she was like all on board with the CNC. She saw the value in it. It was like, let's do this. Let's make it happen. What do we need to do? I was like, well, I got to take over the other garage. And she's like, okay, how are you going to do that? We don't have any space to put all that stuff in. So I built a shed. So I built a shed in the side yard, and we threw everything from that garage. I threw everything from that garage into the shed, and I took over that. So, I kind of have them separated out, like one I call the CNC shop and one I call the main shop. But the CNC takes up a huge footprint. Obviously, it's just a big machine. But where it is tucked away over there, it's really optimized for me. So I keep all my lumber over there. I break down all my wood over there with the jigsaw and with the miter saw. Sorry, Brandon, I know it's boring. With the jigsaw and the miter saw.
That just works every day. All 3 of my days off, I'm done. So tired.
I'm just joking. No, I know. But it works out for what I've got. It's a good setup. I'm really happy with it. So it's just, I I'm gonna have to move in the next 2 years. Like I'm gonna have to. Like I'm just gonna have to. Like it's just not gonna work. I have plans. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm hoping to have this thing paid off by February, and I really in the next year and a half, I'd like to get a bigger machine because I can see the value in it already. Like it's just something I'd like to do. Having that working in the background, making me money, I feel like it's going to be able to enable me to go full time with this and be able to do, because awesome. I really do like doing commissions, and I really would like to mix in content in there as much as I can, because I like that end of it a lot. Not just, I don't like getting tools. I like working with brands, and doing that end of it is fun for me. I really like the business side of it. I like working with the brands. I like working with them. It's really enjoyable to me. And it's not just, like I said, it's not the tools or the money. I really like creating those relationships. And that sounds super cheesy as I'm saying it, but it really is. I do like those relationships. So to me, that stuff's fun. Yeah. But I also do like doing commission builds. Like I really do. Like it is something I do want to do because I really like challenging myself. And I'm very new to woodworking, but I really do love it, and I really want to just get good. And I don't want myself to get into a spot where I'm not challenging myself anymore. So as much as I love content, I don't get the enjoyment out of it that I do when I make a piece of. It's not tangible,
right?
You know, like you can look at a video and be like, "Oh, that was a really good video," but if you look at a table you made. For me, I'm like, damn, that looks really good. Like I really like that, and I'm really proud of that. So it's a bit different for me. So for me, I really want to continue to do the commission side of my business. And for me, I feel like that CNC machine and how quickly it's able to pay itself off, if I can start putting that money into our pockets, it's a real path to taking this full time, which isn't going to be easier. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be mine. And that's what I want. I want it to be mine. So I don't mind working. I'll work 20, 23 hours a day. I don't care. I'll work all day long until my body gives out. I don't care. I just, I want there to be something at the end of the tunnel. And for me, with this, I can build myself something. And that's what I want. I want something that's mine.
Yeah, and you get to make the calls and not answering to people,
Yes. So I want to make the decisions. If there's something that goes wrong, I want it because it's something I decided to do, not because someone else made a stupid decision.
So we got some perks over there at the National. My brother actually worked the tournament, and we always got tickets. So we went to the practice round tournament anytime that somebody would be like, hey, do you want any tickets? We would go. And I actually took my wife the year that Arnold Palmer retired, or his last round, rather. I took her. And her uncle, who is like the biggest golf fanatic, was like, are you freaking kidding me? You went to the Masters and watched Arnold on his last round? What? I was like, what? I mean, it was like a normal thing for me. I whatever.
That's fairly like, who's Arnold Palmer?
He makes this awesome drink. Lemonade and tea.
The Arizona tea guy?
Yeah. He's the tea and lemonade man. Also played a little bit of golf.
So I played in a tournament here in Nashville put on by Southwest Airlines, and in a blind drawing, I won 2 tickets until Monday, 2 tickets to Tuesday to the Masters back. I don't know. I have it on my walls recently. Look it up. 2016. So
nice.
I framed a couple of things. So I took my dad. So me and my dad went. We went Monday and Tuesday. My favorite trip I've ever made to any sporting event ever. And I've been to the Stanley Cup. It's amazing. I've been to like some really cool sporting events. Nothing compares to it. And every person who ever runs any other sporting event should go to that event and see how it's run.
if you possibly can.
Yeah, it's insane.
No cell phones allowed.
Beautiful. I missed my wife's birthday, and I was there on it, and I had to use one of the payphones where you can call anywhere in the world for free to call her and tell her happy birthday while I was there.
You guys talking about the Masters. I can only think of a few things that would probably be more fun, and getting a second vasectomy would probably be more fun than watching the Masters.
Really? Sticking my hand in a deep fryer, maybe.
That's it. You know what?
And a couple non-golfers on
no. I don't golf at all. I've only golfed a few times, and I hit it far, but I shank it, and it's just like watching it. I actually think to be fair, if I went and actually like was there, I think it'd be fun to be there and actually watch it. I think it'd be cool.
It's amazing.
To watch it on TV, I feel like would be super lame. I just couldn't do it. It's actually
What?
like I love baseball too, and I can actually sit through baseball, but I have to be talking with somebody. You can't just sit there and just like look and watch baseball. It's a very leisurely sport, right? Just like golf would be a very leisurely sport. So if you have somebody there you can talk to.
No, you're not allowed to talk.
And if you go to like watching football, it's pretty constant, right? Football's constant. I don't really watch basketball, but basketball's more constant, so I understand why people like that. Well, hockey's super, all back and forth all the time. I think you'd have to have somebody there watch. Like I can't watch golf on TV. I just
What if
can't
there was a crossover between golf and hockey?
That's
they
what I'm
can
talking
beat
about.
each other
Like
with
at
the
some
glove.
point they
Billy
can drop. At some point they can
Happy
drop the
Gilmore,
glove
Jesus.
and then
Oh,
fight.
Yes, I said the
I
right.
think it's called
ruined my
lacrosse.
That's
joke.
what happens when you have 3
I was
drinks.
gonna say
I'm sorry.
the only
This is
thing I've ever watched golf wise is Happy Gilmore, and it was
Happy Gilmore. I said Billy
Price
Madison.
is wrong, Bob.
It's a swing and a miss. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean about baseball because I played baseball all the way up and through college. I cannot watch Major League Baseball on TV.
Yeah.
Like
Until
World
it gets
Series,
to
you
October.
can- yeah.
Right. October is a completely different thing when the World Series is on the line. NLCS, ALCS, all that is completely different. But a normal game, like I'm asleep
Yeah.
sitting in front of the TV.
You have to have like a barbecue where everyone's just over talking, like shooting the shit, and then
it's the background.
on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, during the World Series, so I was in Missouri when the Cardinals won the World Series, right, which is in 2011 to 2012. That year, I was 2011. I was in there, so it was fun. We went to bars and we were watching the World Series. It was a blast, but like watching it day to day, especially as an Angels fan, it's heartbreaking to just sit there and watch. It's just I can't do it, dude. But I don't know.
I watched
Blue Jays fan.
most. Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, get
I
yourself
watched
that.
most of the Giants games from like 2017, 18. All like most of them I probably watched and I loved it, and then they went to crap and
The Giants, you said?
and then they started like, they brought other things that aren't baseball into baseball, and I haven't watched it all since then.
That was right after the steroids, though.
Yeah, I know. It's horseshit. I'm like, just let them do what they want. I want the best players that science can build.
Yep, I'm with you.
Come on.
No, I'm with you on that though.
Please
It's like,
bring
you
back
look at
Barry
Sammy
Bonds
Sosa
days.
and Sammy
It's
Sosa and Mark
amazing.
McGwire. That era is
Yeah.
amazing to watch.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Amazing.
I went to
And-
Cooperstown the year that they broke the records,
Yeah.
and it was like nuts. Like everyone was like,
Back to
This
back.
is so crazy, so crazy. And then the next year, they're like, oh, they all cheated.
Okay.
I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, you still got to swing a bat, right? And they're still
Yeah.
throwing 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They're throwing
just let
96 mile an hour fastballs with
let
82
everybody
mile an hour
juice.
change ups. Like
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
let everybody juice and see what happens. That's what I
Right.
say.
Well, that's like
Me too.
so I watch UFC all the time. That's actually something I've really gotten into, especially since when COVID hit. They were the only sport on for a while, right? Like they were like figuring it out and doing it. I love watching it. But if you walked back in the day when they didn't have USADA, which is like the drug testing pool, do you look at like Brock Lesnar and all these guys?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, you can tell. Like there's some of them that are still in, like Alistair Overeem, who's a heavyweight. Like if you look, they called him Ubereem because he was just jacked and he was on all the steroids, like all the Mexican supplements. He was on all those, and then like you look at him now and you're like, oh, now you look like a normal human being.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna let everybody do it, like I'm okay with that. If it's an even playing field. Have you guys ever seen? I watched the on ESPN. They had the Lance Armstrong documentary. Did you guys watch that? Dude, first of all, it was a fantastic documentary. But like you kind of feel bad for him in a sense. Like there's certain things you don't feel bad for him. Like he went out of his way to lie a ton. But when it comes to like the drug stuff, I actually kind of felt bad for him. I don't know if you felt like that, Nick, but like
he was dating Sheryl Crow or married to Sheryl Crow.
No,
Didn't feel that bad.
no, I'm just talking. No, he was a douche in a lot of different ways. But like, you look at him like he was an asshole. Like he really was. Like, but he's a freaking winner, right? Like when they show him like as a 15-year-old competing in triathlons, and he's like in the top 5 with these professional triathlons, and he's 15. It's like, damn, this guy's good. And then they vilified him as like, hey, he only did good because he was on drugs. And it's like, well, that's not true. We know that's not true. You can't do that. And the reason
still got to pedal.
Yeah, it's like, and then 1 year when he was in doing chemo,
Still got.
they actually went through and they're like, somebody got the guy that won got flagged for drugs, right? So like, hey, we need to like crown the new winner, right? Because he's disqualified. You know how many people they had to go down the line to actually figure out who was
all of them.
They went 18 down the line. So they went 18 down the road to be like, oh, this guy didn't test positive for drugs. It's like, well, if
everybody's doping.
Yeah, it's like everybody's doping. Then why are we upset? Like, this is the game. They all
talked about that
have
with
some
like
fun.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
world's strongest man. Like everybody does steroids, obviously.
Oh, dude. I had a guy.
All I wanna do is have some fun.
So I had a guy drop off tools, right, to my house. Like it was some of my Delta tools. He came in and he was the biggest guy I've ever seen in real life. I was like, oh my gosh, you're real. Like, are you from Iceland? My God, you're massive. And so he was like, yeah, I compete for the world's strongest man competition. I was like, oh, that's cool. So he's like, and he was telling me, and we started talking for like a good amount of time. And he was like, yeah, my wife's the world's strongest woman or whatever. And he was showing me pictures. And I'm like, oh,
What's his name?
I don't remember. I follow him on Instagram now.
It's a natural attraction, by the way.
Yeah,
his wife's name?
I don't know, but she was like a 5-time world champion, and I'm like, oh,
Hans and Hans.
Yeah, I was like, she scares the crap out of me. You know?
Over, do you need any cars moved or anything?
So I asked him,
is your house straight?
Yeah.
So I asked him
on the patio cover.
So I asked him, I was like,
so
when it comes to like steroids and stuff, is everybody just taking them?
He just stops you, all of them.
Yeah, no, that's basically what he said. He was like, he's like, you kind of have to. It's like, he told me, I'm like, okay, cool. So like everybody's aware, like that all these guys that are huge that compete, they'll take steroids.
All right, Stevie, nobody gets off this podcast. Nobody, not that we're close to done yet, but nobody gets off this podcast without talking about cooking. So what is so special about your burgers?
Wait. Good. You got special burgers?
I do.
Special burgers.
All right.
Pitch it to me. Very, very good gourmet burgers. Okay, so usually I'm making for a crowd. So 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm an 85-15, so you get like some of the good fat in there. Yeah. Usually 2 pounds of that. Sometimes I will add in like a pound of bison or something like extra, just if I'm spicing things up a little bit, but usually 85-15 ground beef, 2 pounds, 1.5 egg. So I crack, an egg and then kind of crack the other one and kind of mix it up and put it in. Sometimes a little bit more than half gets, spills in, but it's all good. And then
the half is a nice touch, by the way.
Half is a nice touch. Yeah. That's just perfect. And then I get a good squeeze of mustard. So if I've got Dijon or yellow, like I'm just going to get a really good squeeze over in the bowl. And then 2 tablespoons I honestly don't measure. I just kind of like pour on of chili powder. And then I do a thin layer of garlic salt on top of that. So it's like, I know how much chili powder I just put on. And then about half that I do in garlic salt. And then I put 2 whopping tablespoons of jelly. And so usually not grape or anything like that. Like I'm going to do like a fig preserve or an apricot.
Pepper jelly or something.
I actually have never done pepper jelly. I'll have to do that one next time.
I do jalapeno jelly.
I have both of those.
You should do jalapeno because this sounds amazing so far. Continue. This is great.
And then I, mash it all up with my hands. I mash it all up, and that 2 pounds gets you right like 9 burgers. So it's like 9 burgers is kind of like a really good like burger size. Yeah. And so I kind of keep them in a ball. I set them out on the counter for about 20 minutes, let them kind of like get back down to room temperature. set the grill, keep my grill at like 400, about 400 degrees. And I throw them on for 6 minutes. And then I flip them over. And as soon as I flip, I do like the smash. So they, if they're still in the ball, flip them over, smash them down, set the timer for another 6 minutes. And then at minute 6, I open the grill back over, flip them back over. And then I put extra sharp cheddar cheese on them. And then turn the grill off and close the lid and let them sit there for about 2 minutes.
Let me pause you. So you have them as a ball, you put them on and just let them cook as a ball for 6 minutes. Is this a gas grill or a charcoal grill?
It's a gas grill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just let them sit as a ball and then you press them down and then flip it?
No, I flip and then press down.
So you flip, so you roll because it's a ball.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
I
just
pretty much
kind of
roll it over.
Flip it over.
Yep. Yeah. And what's funny is how I set up the grill too. So I actually
Mr.
can
Technical.
flip them like all over and not have to like move them. So I literally like flip them all over and then the last one flips up. So they go in a circle. And then, so then flip them over, squish them another 6 minutes. And then, turn them off. Or I keep the grill on, put the cheese on. So extra sharp cheddar, put the cheese on, turn the grill off, close the lid and let it sit there for about 2 minutes. And then put them on. And I always have I've got I'll put aluminum foil on my big cutting board and then put them on, seal up the aluminum foil, so let all the heat stay in and then no sauce. So like no ketchup, no mustard and no bun. I mean, you can put them on a bun, but they're like perfect. I mean, like whenever I'm having a cookout and people are over, like it's going to be on a bun because we're like outside and stuff. But when we're sitting down at my dining room table, no bun.
Yeah. Dang.
And they are.
I like it.
They are good. Like it's to the point now that people are like, they're coming over for dinner. Like I have some friends coming over tomorrow night and they're like, hey, can you make your burgers? I'm like, yep. I've had them now like 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Dude.
I think that's my favorite.
The Sweet Baby Ray's one.
But I have to admit, I'm a little embarrassed to say this is my first gun-toting, meat-smoking podcast that I've been on. But so I'm not going to have much to add. But Sweet Baby Ray's has always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
pretty good. That's what we used to use. And then I was just at the store and I saw that Stubbs and everybody's raving about it, so I grabbed some. And it's probably one of my favorites I've eaten. It's pretty good. I think it's like
it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's sweet something. I can't remember. Sweet heat, maybe. I don't know. One of those, but they were good. And I got
if you find yourself in that aisle and you're staring at the the whole display of 1,000 different sauces, you can't go wrong with Sweet Baby Ray's. I mean, it's solid. It's good. I actually just got introduced to their hot sauce, the Sweet Baby Ray's hot sauce, and it's really good.
I didn't know they had any.
I didn't either.
Just saw their
I was at a Greek restaurant the other day, and they had it, and it was excellent.
A Greek? It's random. Yeah, it's Southern barbecue
know,
sauce.
right?
Yeah. They're out of Tzatziki sauce, or however you say that. So
Yeah.
Sweet Baby Ray's.
I know.
What about that
So-
bone-sucking sauce? I've seen that. That seems to be pretty popular.
Oh, yeah.
I never heard of it.
Sounds a little
that's pretty
intimidating.
good.
I'm a noob. I'm just getting into this. I don't know what I'm doing.
Sound like you do.
My favorite sauce is Tennessee red sauce mixed with Tennessee blues hog. So it's a vinegar base and a molasses based mixed together, one part for one part, and it is excellent. It's the best barbecue sauce ever. I use it on everything. So if you ever they don't have to order it a lot of times because they don't sell it at a lot of different places, but that blues hog stuff is amazing.
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
So Keith, you don't regularly partake in the smoking of meats?
I love barbecue. However, like when we used to live in our old house up until 2 years ago, I grilled out probably 3 or 4 nights a week. But now that we live kind of in a townhouse, there's actually a gas hookup on our patio. I could hook everything up, but I don't know. It's a small little patio, and having a grill right next to vinyl siding, and I don't know, it just kind of makes me nervous. So I don't do it anymore. So I do miss that flavor. I'll tell you that. I never had a smoker like you boys, but even just that, throwing up burgers or steak on the grill, I do miss that flavor. Normally I kind of cook everything on the skillet or in the air fryer. If I don't know if that's blasphemy for you guys, but I do love the air fryer.
My girlfriend keeps talking about wanting to get one. She bought an Instapot, and she's used it like 3 times. She's like, "I'll use this all the time," and it's like tends to be like more of a pain or trying to figure out how to use it. And then she's like, "I want to get an air fryer." I'm like, "That'd be cool."
Yeah, we use it every night for one thing or another, whether it's vegetables, meat, or tonight there was potatoes in there. I mean, it cooks so fast and evenly.
Nice.
So I think it's a good deal. It's a good buy. It's only like $100 or something.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
I
dig.
We have one. I like it a lot. I actually used it the other night. I use it all the time for like the thin chicken strips, like chicken breast strips or whatever. My kids love those, so I throw those in some Italian dressing for a little while, and then throw them in that air fryer, and they'll eat them up. And man, you can't talk. I mean, it's as easy as could be. I mean,
yeah.
My 11-year-old daughter could just about do it herself. So
nice.
It's all about like every time I cook something in there, I'm like, I need to write down what the time and temperature was on that, because otherwise I go to Google every time, like, what was grilled chicken for, what was it, 10 minutes for 380 or what? Like, I always forget. If all else fails, 400 for 10 minutes, and then that's a good start for pretty much everything you put in there.
Nice.
I actually tried a big rack. Well, you can't put that big because it's tall, but a rack of ribs in there, and it came out really good, like super crispy. That fat kind of caramelizes, and with a little bit of barbecue sauce on there, it got a nice little crispy crunch on the outside. So it can be done.
that's awesome.
That's not a fun one to clean up though, because non-stick. My ass, that stuff, just sugar when it caramelizes will stick to anything.
I made the mistake of finishing off the burgers that I had on the smoker, and they weren't done, and it was time to eat. So I finished them off in the cast iron skillet, and they had cheese on them already, and they had one of those grated ones. Oh my gosh!
So it's still stuck to the pan.
Oh yeah, basically. Yeah, I spent like an hour cleaning it off. It was ridiculous.
How do you even clean those things? I don't want this to be a dishwashing show, but how do you
know.
even clean those things?
Jesse's the cast iron master.
The cast iron. So the best way to clean cast irons, you got it on the stove when it's still hot, is I throw a cup or 2 of kosher salt in it, and then about a cup or 2 of water, and use that to kind of use my tongs or a spatula and rub that around. That salt kind of uses like as an abrasive. Breaks up all that stuff, gets all the grease and stuff off the bottom. Then I pour them out in the sink and just wipe them out. If they get real bad, you can use some steel wool and clean it out real good. But don't ever use soap. Don't ever throw them in the dishwasher. Just clean them right there and throw them right back on the shelf.
What about a pressure washer?
You could use one of those.
Got to get one of those dirt busting like spinning heads for them.
Yeah. Anything, because once you get something baked on in there, I'm like, should I really? How much effort do I need to put in this, or is it just quote unquote seasoning the pan if I leave it in there?
Exactly. It's like, how much are these new?
Yeah, I know.
Is this worth the time, or just buy a new one?
Is it by the pound? Because those things are like 10 pounds each. So.
Oh, I know, they're crazy. Well,
so for those who don't know, we have Keith Johnson with us, with better known as KJ Sawdust on Instagram, also on YouTube. Keith is known, I guess, in the small circles that I run around in Instagram and stuff, as the Walnut King. Absolutely just insane and amazing projects with Walnut, Keith. I appreciate you being on with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, originator of the shop shout out, or wait, what is it? Sunday shop shirt shout out.
Or whatever day.
Close.
Yeah.
It originated on Sundays, right? Or Saturdays?
Well, it was Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah, that was when I used to only be in the shop, but now it's pretty much full time. So I can't do that every day anymore. I've kind of gone through all my shirts several times. So
yeah. Well, you're going back to school, so.
Yeah, I am. I'm in woodworking school I got 4 days a week for the next 4 weeks, so.
That's a lot. And I was listening to your guys' podcast. For those of you who don't know, he's also on a podcast called Shop Sounds, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. With Nick Key and Jason Hibbs, Bourbon.
Right.
Yep.
You got it.
It's a good one. You guys need to go listen to that as well. I heard it's like a couple hours from your house or something.
Yeah, so it's in Connecticut. It's like a 2.5 hour drive. So like tomorrow morning, I got to leave at 5 to head up there to be. So I'll just pull an all-nighter probably. Throw on a pot of coffee at 3 a.m. and get ready for the drive. So its class starts at 8:30. Yeah, so it's 8:30 to 4:30, 4 days a week for the next 4 weeks. So we did 3 days last week. Just kind of a little bit of review, and then we started cutting, some hand tool stuff, which is primarily, I mean, our instructors, like the term hybrid woodworking or blended woodworking don't really, he's like, oh, you mean woodworking? So it's kind of refreshing. So he's definitely a blend of both. But good. We're definitely starting with more hand tools, which is what I am taking these classes for. Is, listen, I don't foresee myself hand cutting a dovetail in many projects, but that, the skills you learn with that, muscle memory and cutting to a line and all those things are applicable to a lot of other processes and joinery in woodworking. So we're not going to be building a project per se. But even though we're going to be building like a little side table with a dovetail drawer with a solid bottom and tapered legs and a haunch tenon aprons and a top, but all those things are going to be made of different materials, like whatever's lying around. So the top may be cherry, the legs may be walnut, the drawer may be poplar, whatever. And he does it that way so you're not obsessing over it. So, you can make a mistake and it won't matter, or you can drop it or bang into it and it doesn't matter. So
makes sense.
My goal is to just steal everybody's walnut and make it all out of walnut, but I don't or bring my own. Yeah.
You make it look like one of those competition like cooking shows or like Forged in Fire, everybody's running after the stock. They're like, it's not a race. You're like, not to you.
Yeah,
I need the walnut.
Look over there. It's cherry.
Yeah, that's a Brazilian cherry. It's special.
So I don't really know. Yeah, it is maybe a little accents, Brazilian cherry accents.
Yeah.
So the program is kind of it's fluid, meaning there's not like a set agenda or curriculum. So kind of every time he does this 5-week intensive, it changes a little bit depending on the class and the experience. So like
how many people are in there?
There's 7 of us. There's 3 older guys that I think they're all retired, and then 2 younger guys or 3 younger guys. So 3 of them are kind of looking for a way to fill their time, and the other guys are kind of looking to kind of expand their skills and make themselves more marketable, whether they do it full time or not.
I needed to do, and then tomorrow morning I know like I have a delivery, I got to go pick up some material, and then I'm back in the shop until probably like 5 or 6, and as long as I get everything done, then I'm good to go. So. Yeah, I'm trying to focus more on lists and plan it out than I am just go there, because I'm a spun monkey. So like I'll get there and be like, oh, hey, I want to make a new sign, or I want to do this. And I start working on that, and then this doesn't get done. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, we're super into barbecue. Do you barbecue?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have a smoker, or you do
what's
gas,
what's in the
charcoal?
backyard, Chad? What's in the backyard?
Yeah.
I have
and that's not a dirty euphemism. He's asking your actual backyard.
Legit backyard.
Well, I think you guys are kind of snobby with your Traegers. So
I'm just lazy. That's all it really is.
I have a Green Mountain.
Oh, you still have a smoker though.
Mm-hmm.
A pellet grill.
Oh, I have a smoker. I have one of the Blue Rhino skillets, the big skillets. Which if you guys don't,
flat top.
I just got one of those.
Dude, it is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
yes. I want one.
If it's the same one, mine's like a camper style, I guess. It's got a collapsible stand that comes with it. Do you have that one? Uh-huh. It's like a 2-burner flat top.
No, this one's it's like the big, like kind of like what they. Like, you ever hired the people that make tacos for like parties and stuff? They come and do that, and they've got that big like skillet.
Oh yeah.
So this one, the base. Well, I don't know. The base might collapse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get out much, so I wouldn't take it anywhere.
You gotta take it to your shop, dude.
But mine's a
Barbecue for lunch.
2-burner. It's a pretty good size, and it's on like a wheeled like stand. But the stand can collapse, and you can take it places or whatever. But it's got a top that comes down on it. But I evidently Blue Rhino Lowe's was going to stop carrying them or something.
Really?
So I went around and found the Lowe's local to me. They had them. They're like regular $200, and I was able to get it for $75.
Oh, I would have bought
awesome.
another one just for that. Yeah.
I called my dad and I told him about it. And my dad, he ran over to another Lowe's and he called me. He's like, "Hey, I got another one." He's like, "I got it for $80." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then he called me like, an hour later. He's like, "Hey, I went to another Lowe's. I got another one. I got it for $60." I was like, "What are you doing?"
He's like, "I got an eBay shop and I'm going to start selling them."
You have a problem. He's like, "I don't know. I figured people would want them." But anyway,
awesome.
that thing is awesome. It's great for. So now I'll cook steak on the Traeger, and then I'll fire that thing up and get it super, super hot and put the oil and butter and stuff in there and then sear it on that. And it's a great 1-2 punch.
That's what I need.
It's
I
perfect.
think I'm gonna build one into whatever I do for my outdoor thing because my wife hates when I sear inside because that's what I usually do. I don't like leaving the pan in the Traeger and then having to wait for it to go all the way to the top and then sear in there. I hate it. So I usually just put one on my cast iron on my stove and do it. But literally, our wall, like the backsplash.
I was gonna say, I remember watching the video of you doing it, and I was like, "Oh my god,
it's so bad!
Oil
like
is freaking everywhere."
We don't have cabinets; we just have shelves. I put in hickory shelves, and it's just like it's white. We have white dishes, and so every time I do that, it's just covered in grease, and I have to like take them all down and rewash all my dishes. It's annoying.
Just grease splatter all over the wall.
It's bad.
You don't have a charcoal or a gas grill, Jesse?
I don't. I got rid of it. It was just the one I had was huge. It was like a double charcoal and a gas one.
Yeah.
And I didn't use it enough. So like I have a outdoor patio thing that is just it's mold, like it's just destroyed. Like the guy that built it sucked. So I'm gonna take it all out and build in the new, like in my 780 Traeger into one part of it, and then I want to build one of the flat tops into another part, and then it'd be concrete counters and stuff.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, it'll be easy because I can just turn that on next to it and then just throw it over when I'm done. So,
That's
and I'd like to do bacon and breakfast out there too.
The nice thing about the one that I have, Jesse, is that sorry, Chad.
Is
that you can get the converter so you can run it on the small Coleman propane tanks, like the camper ones, or you can or you can run it off the big tank if you just grab one of the conversion things.
That's cool.
Yeah, so for you it'd be perfect to throw it with the camper and go.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Blackstone? I think that's what they're famous for.
Yeah, that's my dad's got one of those.
Are here in Logan, where I live. So like Camp Chef and Blackstone, two different companies. Their headquarters are in my tiny freaking town. But I want to go weird. And I want to like reach out to them and be like, "Hey, I would like to come see your freaking headquarters and see what you guys got grilling wise." I'm like, also, by the way, we have a podcast if you want to be a sponsor. They're like, no, you guys
Blackstone.
They're like, you talk about Traegers too much. No.
Like, I was gonna say, wait till you hear back from Traeger first.
But anyway, yeah, I'd love to do that. So you like your Green Mountain then, right? Like it's been good for you. It doesn't hook to Wi-Fi or anything. It's just standard, right?
No, it hooks to Wi-Fi.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got the I don't remember the name. I think mine's like I can't remember if the Daniel Boone's the biggest or the Jim Bowie's the biggest, but at the time it was the biggest one they did, and I was actually mad because like I bought it, and then like a month later they came out with like their premium edition ones, and there wasn't a whole lot different. It was more like it's got a window in the pellet bay so you can like see when your pellets are going. Yeah. If you're super lazy and you don't want to lift it up and go, "Oh, I need pellets," you can like look through the window. And but I actually the sergeant that hired me at Newman when I was a wee lad, he actually runs this. He's got him and his wife actually have like a home store. But he also does like barbecue stuff. So he sells them, and he's got like they sell all the pellets, and he's got like all the rubs and everything. So I got my Green Mountain because I actually did their fireplace mantle, and I was like, "Hey, I'll trade work for the Green Mountain." So
yeah.
So it cost me like like $200 to get the big. It was like a $700 barbecue, and I basically was like, "Hey, your mantel's like $500, so give me this, and I'll pay you $200. You give me that." So that's how I got mine.
Sweet.
That's the best way to do it. That way your wife can't say no when you spend the money. Be like,
Exactly.
if you want to buy a $750 smoker, it'd be like, eh.
She didn't actually know. She came home, it was in the living room, and she was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, we eating good tonight."
I knew you were my kind of guy because it was in the living room. That's how excited you were.
Yeah.
Sounds real
It was
familiar.
running. It's all plugged in. He's like, "I wanted to test it out."
Yeah.
He's like, "Get it outside."
I got the Traeger home, and then my girlfriend got home later. She's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You let them talk you into it?" And I was like, "Yep." And then
nice.
later, I was talking to my buddy on the phone, and they were like, "Oh, how much was that one?" I was like $700, but I got like 150 whatever off. And she's like, "You paid that much for that freaking thing?" And I was like, "No."
But she eats it, doesn't she?
She loves it now, huh?
Uh-huh.
She loves
She's
it every time
actually not like that much of a fan of the smoke flavor. She likes the grill better.
If you guys haven't listened to like the first podcast episodes, we basically transformed Brandon.
Strong-armed me.
Yeah.
into it. They're like, "All right, if you want to be on this podcast, there's a couple things we're gonna have to go over.
You're
You're gonna need to go buy a Traeger."
It was funny because me and Oscar from Naughty Dog, we were talking, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to be on the podcast Sunday." He's like, "You guys are going to talk about barbecue, aren't you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure we're going to talk about barbecue."
He's not allowed on here.
No, he's a vegetarian.
He's a vegan.
He's what?
You didn't know that?
No.
What?
Look, Chad don't like him anymore.
Chad, if you're just listening, Chad just lost a friend. And, he's no longer friends with Oscar.